Welcome to my channel. Today I have several pieces of inspiration that go into this process video for this layout. And this first set of products is from the Scrapbook and Cards Today sampler kit. And that word dream and this little cut apart sheet that says I love sleep totally inspired me to tell the story about, well, how I love sleep. And the second piece of inspiration for this kit was this sketch here from the scraphappy.org membership group, and they offer a sketch challenge every month. And so I will speed you up here through my process as I start creating this layout. I loved all the pieces from this kit, so I pull a whole bunch of them out and decide what to use. Now, I limited my process here based on the next piece of inspiration, which we'll get to, as I was pulling out all of these pieces that I wanted to use. And here is that second piece of inspiration. The Hip Kit Club offers a weekly challenge, and this challenge was a recipe list of items to include, and there were things like stitching, 3 pattern papers, 2 or 3 photos, splatters, and things like that. So I wanted to make sure I had that list right by me as I was working on this project to make sure I get all the pieces included. So I included these 2 photos. One of them I happened to take at the zoo at a display that was talking about lions and how much they sleep, and I totally took that picture of me next to the sign, not knowing what I would ever do with that picture, but here it is. Inspiration pops up, and then I've got the photo to go along with it. Anyway, just a moment ago you saw me use a compass to draw a circle so I could get a relatively clean circle when I was stitching. And if I don't do this ahead of time, my circles can get super wonky. I wanted them a little wonky, but still circular. So anyway, I added my splatters on, and I wanted to emphasize kind of the little title area with some extra splatters there in the middle. And I did add in a couple of different colors. I've got black and yellow, and then I think I do go back in and add some green, since there's green in my photo and a green tone in that little title journal card. Now, fussy cutting was one of the other elements, so here we go. I am fussy cutting little tiny hearts out of this pattern paper, and you can see me just cross that off my list of things to do as I'm going along here. And once I've kind of got an idea about where these elements will start going, I do start sticking some things down. So here I turn my attention to creating this little tag element out of this cut apart, because having 2 tags was one of the recipe elements, and I only had 1 tag, so I just made my own out of the second piece. So then having 3 pattern papers was another element. So you can see off to the left there, I've got a pink pattern paper, a stripe, and a floral. And I'm going to use these in pretty small amounts, since this design is a kind of a big open white space circle. I'm just going to use those pattern papers in small amounts later. So here you go. I've fussed with some things a little bit more, and then I start sticking some things down. I use this Gina K Connect glue to attach that word dream is actually an acrylic embellishment that comes with the SCT kit. Now, I had started to do my stamping with a larger stamp block, and that was creating a mess. So if you're using tiny stamps, go ahead and use a tiny stamp block. It'll just make your life easier. To add extra dimension and to pull in more of that thread element, I just use thread and I wrap it around my fingers a couple of times to create a twine embellishment on the tops of my tags, and that kind of ties everything together there. And here's where I get to that pattern paper. Now I'm just adding small pops of color off to the right hand side of my photos to kind of help balance out the circle, which has pops of color going all around it except where the photos are. So that brings in the balance. I add a little bit of a puffy word that says me up there. I decided to trim this element down to a circle since there aren't a lot of other square elements going on. I thought that circle would work better. I add a few little gemstones from my kit, and then my journaling goes, a small amount of journaling goes there, but then something I do very often is journal around the entire edge. And I thought I was done, but I realized using cut files was a final element on this recipe. So I went to the Hip Kit Club and I downloaded my cut files from a previous month's kit. So I did use the Hip Kit Club products, and you can only get the cut files if you subscribe to the kits. And these are little moths, which I thought worked well with the theme of sleep and nighttime. So I add those on there. And now my kit is done. Or sorry, my layout is done. And so here you can kind of see a little bit closer of how I get that journaling going on around the edge. And then all the details of all of the elements from this recipe. So that really is it for today's project. The point is to go ahead and use various bits and pieces of inspiration from your entire crafty life to pull together into one project. And if you're interested in any of the resources I mentioned here, I will have links for you below. I have one more video for the month of August, so don't miss that. It will highlight August projects as well as talk about September videos that I have in the works. So come back next time.